episode of Leaders and Engineers. Today we are broadcasting from Estonia, and today our guest is an expert in industrial automation, software engineering and mechatronics, Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and Master of Science cum laude in Mechatronics, Robotics and Automation Engineering, with about 13 years of experience in mechanics and developing custom industrial automation solutions. He worked in such companies as ABB, IPTE Automation and Ericsson. He is living in Estonia and working now in Ericsson as a software engineer. Please meet Stanley Ezeoke.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. Good to be here. Yeah.
So how's been your day?
Thus far, great. Yeah.
But I believe this is the first time this kind of podcast interview, right?
Yes.
And I can imagine how it might be kind of new experience, new challenge. And I want to assure you that it's with this experience and so many things that you have done, it would be really great if you share your thoughts and experience. And so just feel free. I'll try to make sure that you feel very comfortable and that your first experience goes smoothly.
We hope so.
But today, in Estonia, it's seldom to have such sunny and warm weather. And luckily, we are now, probably it's not going to get colder. It's getting on the path to the spring.
Mm-hmm.
But you, if you compare with Nigeria, in Nigeria it's probably extremely hot compared to Estonia. Which are you more comfortable now got used to the Estonian kind of weather? Are you okay with the Nigerian weather?
Of course, I would always prefer Nigerian weather, but usually being in a place is a combination of several factors. So not just the weather, there are other things you need to consider, like the welfare of your family. Is it better at home or better here? Healthcare, stuff like that. So comparatively, I would say my situation today, I'm happy being in Estonia. So,
it's actually interesting. Whereas Nigeria and whereas Estonia, how have you decided to come to Estonia?
That's a very interesting question. So, how it happened, how I got the news, how I knew about Estonia. A friend of mine was schooling here, I think he came 2014. And when he was leaving Nigeria, he told me he was leaving. And I was like, wow, that's cool. Great. Safe journey. Then after a year, I was like looking at, it was summertime. He was riding bicycle, I think, somewhere around Mustambai. It was like, Stanley, I'm here and I'm having the best time of my life and all that. I was like, wow, that's cool. Tell me more about it. And he started telling me, okay, you can also come. It's not so difficult to come and you can do your master's and all that. Then I was also at a particular phase of my life there. I felt, wow, okay, why not give it a shot? And, I decided to, look into some of the details, what I can do and what Estonia can offer. And I'm here.
It really shows the power of this communication and sharing of the experience. And this is also why we're having this podcast today. But have you had this experience that you were in the same shoes that you also recommended to someone and actually the person came from Nigeria thanks to you?
That's, yeah. I have two of my sisters are here. And I would say, in some sense, they are here because I was here, or I am here rather. So, spoke good things about Estonia, what possible future for possible things you can achieve here. And they are here, and I think a couple of other friends too were here because I told them about Estonia. Yeah.
Great. And now let's try something different. Well, I know this is already different when it's like the first podcast, but something different compared to other podcasts. We'll try a mock-up interview, job interview. And let's imagine you're applying to a company. This company doesn't exist, but you're applying to a company which is engineering company, and the position you're applying is a leadership position. So leading the team of engineers, of software engineers, of the automation, electronics engineers. So this is kind of position. And we'll play this kind of interview, and at some point I will say that now we're done with this job interview, and I'll ask your feedback about it. How does it sound?
Yeah, sure.
You ready?
Yeah.
Great. Hello, Stanley.
Hi, Nadia.
Thank you for applying for a position in our company. And our company is producing a scooter bicycle hybrid. So basically scooter and bicycle connected together. And to explain you better, I'll show the image, the picture, and you will see this on your screens. That's how it looks like.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And you will basically be responsible for developing this product. You will be leading the team of the engineers.
Okay.
Do you like cycling?
Yes, I have a bicycle. I do cycle usually during summer. Yeah, along the seaside.
How about scooter?
A scooter sometimes, if I want to make a quick quick run to point X from point Y, why not? I do that with scooter.
But have you tried before this combination of both?
I was waiting for you to land because I'm imagining who came up with this idea in the first place and what kind of, should I say, problem that was seen, usually that was saying why you propose or this kind of idea is, it's coming up. What problem is it solving, basically?
That's exactly the question I wanted to ask you. Since you're applying for this position, actually, that was my first question. Why have you applied for this position?
Good question. So, first of all, I'm a mechanical engineer. Mechanical, electrical, and now I'm more like a kind of, my focus is on softwares. I'm interested in solutions, in providing solutions to companies. This company, I believe, is into bicycles and scooter, meaning it has something to do with electrical, mechanical, and hopefully some sort of softwares. I'm hoping I could, come in, not just look into what you're producing, but probably offer some good advice on how we can modify the products and make it, solve problem for the society. Because it's not just about producing something. It's about what problem are you solving for the community in which these products will be used. If it is not solving any problem, why spend resources on that? So why I'm applying again is to come look into the product that you are producing or wanting to produce and see how we can both collaborate together using my skills as, my background as mechanical, electrical, and software engineer, and see how we can reform the product to suit the market where it will be used.
Great to see your interest and the systematic approach. I would say problem solving approach. But if you speak about your past experience, what was the project that you made in industrial automation or maybe in another engineering domain that you are proud most?
Oh, good one. There are a lot of them, actually. I work today in Ericsson. I work as a software engineer. Before that, I was working as an automation engineer. And I'm lucky or kind of privileged to work in a kind of system of systems projects. And it was kind of the first of its kind and the biggest in the company, at least in Estonia, as at that time. So I'm really privileged to work in this kind of projects because it provided me the opportunity to, use all of my skills. I mentioned earlier I'm coming from a mechanical background, and I studied mechatronics in my master's level. So, and right now I'm a software. So it's kind of, bring all of my skills, bring it to bear, and it made a demand on myself to learn from people because I can't say I worked alone in the project. From people who were also part of this project, learn from them, and as well be able to support the project such that it's now used in production.
Well, that was work related, but have you had also some kind of side projects or your kind of own hobby things that you made?
I started a few, but never completed any, probably because my focus at the moment is on work. One of the projects I tried to start and finish was a solution that is focused on the education system in Nigeria. We usually we have different kinds of exams. One is called JAM. The other one is called GCE. I can't remember the full name of these abbreviations. But students usually prepare using past questions from the previous year to prepare for this kind of exams. The solution I was working on was to help students to be able to access these previous or past year questions easily on their phone, because compared to 10 years ago when I was in secondary school, we don't have smartphones then. At least I don't have one. But now almost every kid has a smartphone. So instead of playing games or relaxing a bit too much with their phone, they can actually prepare for these exams while maybe taking a walk or, running some errands in the house. They can look at those past questions, and it will be kind of interactive. It will give you some sort of how you're making, how much progress you're making in a particular subject and where you could focus on. Usually I mentioned earlier, Jan, you have 4 subjects that you must pass before you can gain entrance into a university. So math is one of them, English is another. So it can give you like, okay, you should focus more on mathematics, or you should focus more on physics, for instance, because you are weak in that area based on the score from this kind of application. But I couldn't go through with it.
But it's really interesting idea, and but you were working alone on that, or but how would you describe yourself as individual contributor? You rather do end-to-end yourself, and since you also have knowledge, kind of full stack knowledge, starting from the mechanics and with the software, or you would rather have this work done in the team?
Can you paraphrase? Sorry.
You rather prefer to do work on your own end-to-end, or do this in the team?
Yeah, really, I think working in a team afford you the opportunity to learn from other people. Working in a team is usually better than working alone. One of the challenges I had and why I couldn't succeed with this solution I talked about is because it's just me working on it, right? So if you have like a team, sometimes you don't feel enthusiastic about the project anymore, but probably your partner doesn't feel that way. You can draw some style kind of inspiration, you know, to get the project to completion. So yeah, working in a team is a good thing, and I think I'll prefer to work in a team than working on a solo projects.
Mhm. But you've been working in your work experience with various teams. What was the biggest challenge for you?
Good question. I would say communication is one of the challenges. Of course, in every phase of life, not just working in a team, communication is always a challenge. Sometimes you think an idea is great, but your team member doesn't think same. So you need to find a balance between, you find a balance, or you need to come to some sort of agreement on what to do. And this requires some sort of efforts more compared to if you're working on that project alone.
Mhm.
But like I said, there is always a good thing. There's a good, should I say, advantages of working on a project alone. And there's also some advantages, working in a team. But usually working in a team supersedes, I think, working in a team supersedes working alone in projects.
Mhm. On your LinkedIn, you mentioned that apart developing your technology expertise, you found your soft skills. Could you please elaborate on that? What do you mean by soft skills?
Soft skills includes communication. If I compare myself 10 years ago, myself today, I think there's some sort of improvements. Yeah, depending on who's looking at me, but this is me assessing myself. I would say there's some sort of improvement. Now I can, not just think about idea, I can also relate that idea to somebody in some sense that this is what I'm thinking. Can we work on this? Can we agree to do this together? What do you think about uh, this idea of mine? Yeah. Communication is one of it. It's one of the soft skills. Time management is a soft skill. Um, Self-management kind of is also kind of a skill. If you can endure to see a project to finish, you can actually manage yourself. You have set motivation to go through the pain, because it always comes with pain. The pain of sitting down long hours. You don't even know how to solve a problem, but you are sitting down. You are always there. Sometimes you are sleeping, but your brain is working. You're actually thinking about the problem, and you wake up with some solution. So all of these are skills.
I saw on the LinkedIn uh, you posted basically reposted the message of other person, and there was a nice animation with explaining the different team dynamics and roles of different people. There is a top performer, there is a doer, there is a less doer, and there is someone who tries to pull back. So have you seen this example in real life in the projects that you worked?
Yeah, I have seen, especially in the one of the first projects I worked on. Yeah, there is always a conflict, or there's always this struggle in a team. Somebody's trying to do it much faster. The other person is like trying to take his time to do it. But yeah, it's comes down to managing that kind of situation. Giving the other person some time to do it. So,
The,
yeah.
in that, let's say, situation that you experienced, have you taken some actions to change this, or if not, then how would you have handled this kind of situation?
Usually, for me, what I do is to try to reason with the person and try to be a friend first to who I'm working with. There are different ways to do that. Probably, saying please, even though you don't need to say it. Yeah. So, yeah, I really don't want to dwell into some of the details in team conflicts, but you need to come up with a way to manage the situation, to be a friend to the person you are talking with. Otherwise, they will feel you are trying to boss them around. Because I was the tech lead in that particular project. And if someone feels you are bossing him around, you are trying to make it kind of command him or her to do this or do that, might feel reluctant. No, I don't want to do it. And at the end of the day, the project will not move forward. So,
But let's say the situation is such that there are many different projects, and people are changing from project to project. And will you have time for every project basically to build this kind of connection? Because project is kind of ad hoc based. It has certain deadline deliverables, and there are not maybe luxury of having whole year or like several months. Depends, of course, on the project. How would you then address in this case?
yeah, one thing is to, I'm not sure I understand the question fully, but if I understand that, how do you like go about getting the project done? If that is the question, irrespective of the challenges that you are facing. One thing is to, collaborate more, like, communicate more about your challenges. If you have a manager who is also, or if these team members share the same manager, then you can in some way involve your manager in some of those meetings. That way, they are also aware of what is going on, and they can be able to, step in and probably, and you can also report nicely that you need this person to do something, but he's not doing it, and probably your manager can help in that regard.
So in some sense, it's leveraging like kind of kind things and punishment things.
Yeah, kind of.
Because pulling in the manager is some sense, the manager of that person is some sense a bit of giving a bit of threat probably to speed up. And
yeah, sometimes it's necessary, like really is necessary, because maybe there is some reasons why he can't fulfill some certain request. You wouldn't know until probably you ask nicely from the manager, and the manager can tell you, okay, there was a situation, and the manager said, oh, this guy is overburdened, he's overloaded, he has a lot of stuff he's handling, and that is why he's not fulfilling your request on time. And then you have an insight on why he's not responding the way you want him to respond. At least still you can be tolerating in that sense.
continuing on this soft skills, because this is, I think, for the technical expertise, there is some kind of clear evidence which can be verified in a certain way. But when it comes to the soft skills, this is actually would be interesting to if you elaborate, expand here more. And when you mentioned also that you were honing your soft skills, like improving your soft skills, how did you do this exactly? Is it this project experience, or there was some intentionally, I don't know, taking courses, something else?
Good one. Yeah. So one of the things I do, soft skills, in some way is not measurable. Maybe I'm wrong, but soft skill, if you can communicate, I can communicate greatly. Who is measuring? Who told you that you can communicate very well? It depends on who is perceiving you, who is who are you telling? So soft skill is not something, sometimes it's not something measurable in that sense. But what I do from time to time is give me a project. If I'm in a project A, for instance, and I'm able to complete that project within a short time or within the time allowed for this project. And during this time, it requires not just the technical experience of yourself, but your ability to communicate your ideas to your team members, your ability to go through this project without conflicts, without lots of conflict, that at the end of the project, everyone is happy to maybe take pancake or eat some slice of pizza together. Then in this sense, it's some sort of improvement on your own part that you led the project. If I'm the technical lead in that project, for instance, you led the project, and at the end of the project, you delivered what is demanded on you on time. The business is happy about what you did, and your team members are happy about the whole process. Then in this sense, to some extent, you can say, yes, I'm doing a great job. For me, this is one way to measure how you are doing.
But let's say if you are going through the changes, so maybe changing the ways of working. For instance, saying that now we were working remotely, now we'll be more working in the office. Some changes which are not popular, so to say. But so probably in this case, when then you will ask the feedback, the team will say they're not happy. But from the perspective of business, it's what was needed, required. How here will you measure basically that you were successful?
Yeah, so success could be in different form. Project-wise, yes, you're successful. But soft skill-wise, like you mentioned earlier, you're not successful in that sense. So you need to like drill a little bit into that to really understand, and also being introspective as well to see who is reporting that this is not happy about the whole process in your team. Did you have some sort of collaboration or some sort of discussion with this person during this whole process? What happened? What transpired? Could you, in yourself say, okay, I can point to maybe situation A or situation B that I think that this person X is referring to, Then if you have an idea about what happened, yes, you can now take a step further to see if this fellow can be able to tell you what's happened. But in most cases, people don't discuss these details. They try to shy away from it, or they don't want to escalate it, and it's understandable. But on myself or on my side, you can be more introspective to really think, did I do my best to make sure that I'm in good terms with this person within this time period that we're in this project together? If your answer is yes at that time, I believe you've done your best. But if you ask yourself honestly and you can say, no, you didn't do enough, probably you were too pushy, probably you did not give him enough time, probably you reported him unnecessarily to a superior, then you might try to change that in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But continuing on this, connected to the same question, to this topic, it's quite often to see in the software world and in the IT world a high turnover rates. If you become the manager leader there in this area, how would you handle this retention? How would you motivate people to actually stick and stay long in their, let's say, new department?
I think the first thing is to be fair with your subordinates. You need to be fair in terms of what they take home comparatively with some other company XYZ who this particular fellow can also work in. You need to be fair. You need to know how much is company X paying for this particular skill sets and how much am I paying for this same skill set. If you can honestly be fair in that sense and be open with them, make them your friends, and be interested in their progress, because it's one thing to be fair, it's another thing to help them to grow within the same organization. I think a lot of people would want to stay.
If I understood you correctly, here you're more applying on showing the human side, empathy and the humanness.
Yeah.
Does it also mean that the manager of software engineers, so the automation engineers, so any kind of engineers, but let's say software engineers, the manager of software engineers doesn't really have to be an expert in the software engineering, but rather be expert in people?
I think it's both, because issues will arise that even you as a manager need to step in and really understand what the issue is. To recruit new members to the team, usually I believe this is also the responsibility of the manager. I think that you can't really, delve into something that you don't have sufficient knowledge on. You can't be asking, probably during the technical interview, asking questions that you as a person, as a manager, you don't have an idea. You haven't really done anything in relationship with that. So it's a combination. I think if you have good human relationship skill, you also have good technical skill. I mean, you have a combination of this, then you can, move in the direction of manager for softwares.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are more into just human relationship and not the technical side, then probably you should look for something more into human relationship, maybe recruitment manager, for instance, rather than technical manager.
Mm-hmm. But could it be so that you as a manager come and you don't have their technical expertise, but you create such a friendly, good environment, and then say, I fully trust you, how would you take this? Would you put the full trust in the team and delegate them this kind of decisions? Or you rather trust but check?
Trust and check.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather trust and check, because that's a feedback to me on how the process is going. It is also, it's like owning a business, for instance. You don't want to have a business that you don't understand the internal dynamics of that business, how it is doing financially, how, how much profits you are making monthly or quarterly. You want to have an insight into all of this. If you're also a technical manager, being a manager to some technical guys, then you should be interested in what they do from day to day. Sometimes maybe fun parts, like I said, being a technical manager does not mean that you don't have an idea of technical side. The fun part for you or for that manager, I think, should also be to play with the products your team is developing. Play with it, see how is it going? What are the things that you can learn from what they're doing? That way you can also be able to offer some sort of direction to the team, that I think, okay, this is not going in the business direction. I think we should, do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can also, for managers, I also see them as leaders, as someone who's looking from the top.
Mm-hmm.
You can also see how you can improve their way of working. Probably if they're having dailies, maybe dailies, they could start having meetings 2 times in a week or 3 times in a week, depending. This is just a suggestion. Yeah. So you shouldn't abstract yourself or, remove yourself from the process.
I also wanted to follow up on your. I see that you put a lot of emphasis on education as well, and this is, I find this very important course for you, besides the work and what you do as a software engineer. And recently I saw your post on LinkedIn about your experience in Nigeria, in the south of Nigeria, in school where we were teaching math for 1 year. And it was actually interesting to hear that you mentioned it was the military national program. Could you please tell more about that? Is it military in the sense that people have to go to schools, or how does it work?
So back at home, Nigeria, we have what we call NYSC, meaning National Youth Service Corps. It's a program that every graduate from every tertiary institution that is under the age of 30 must go through. It's compulsory. If you can't go, probably because of age, when you've exceeded age 30 or you're above age 30, then you need to make an exception that you can participate because you're above 30. But this is a mandatory program, and usually you are posted to. I schooled in the western part of the country. I'm from the southern part of the country anyways. But once you finish from school, the government can post you to any part of the country to experience the life in a different part of the country.
But you can't choose where and which subject.
It's not compulsorily teaching.
Okay.
It depends. Some people also have the opportunity of working in some institutions like banking institutions or some other.
So it's kind of civil service.
Like civil service. So For me, I was posted to Cross River State in southern part of the country, and the only opportunity as at that time, and within the locality where I was posted to, is teaching. And I said, why not? Math is also something I can do while sleeping. So, I mean, that is probably exaggeration. But yeah, I love math, and that is why I found myself in engineering. So yeah, I taught the students mathematics, and
But is it alternative to military service, or you still have to go?
no, we don't have military service.
Okay. So, but no military service, but mandatory civil service.
Mandatory, you can call it that, put it that way, that it is a mandatory civil service. Although in the first 3 weeks in the camp, because first the camp, every graduate posted to a particular state. We have 36 states. Everyone posted in a particular state. They come there in kind of military camp where they go through some sort of military training, like not like shooting, but you kind of do some military exercise, like,
So it's kind of mixed.
mixed, yeah.
That's really interesting. Haven't heard about this kind of approach before, but I understood you like this and enjoyed your experience there.
Yes, I did. I had a good time. Of course, I would have wanted something better, but looking back, it's also good to, me coming from an urban area where I was posted to is a rural area, bringing my urban experience, bringing those experiences to those children in the farm who would want to see a mechanical engineer teaching them mathematics in a classroom. Who is he? What can he deliver? What can he do? Probably it's also a source of inspiration to some students in that class who would want to become an engineer in the future.
How old were your students?
Some of within the age range of I think 14 to 17.
Was it were they accepting you as expert and guru, or they were challenging you constantly?
There were challenges. You have the bright ones. You have some who are not willing to learn compared to others, and you have like some who are really, really very enthusiastic to learn, and they keep asking lots of questions. And those students makes you to read before coming to the class, because as a teacher, if your students are not asking questions, you don't really prepare very well before coming to the class, because it's going to be an easy walkthrough in the classroom. But when you have students who would ask you like questions you did not think about before coming, then you prepare very well before going to the classroom. So it's a mix of some, enthusiastic students and some students who seems not to be very interested in studies.
Probably this is a very very useful setup for developing leadership skills to motivate and get attention in the big class. But you graduated with cum laude in Estonia.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to meet the president of Estonia?
Yes, I did.
How was the experience?
It wasn't what I was thinking about, because we only took pictures, and she spoke from very far distance from where I was. But yeah, it's a privilege to see the president of Estonia, not from, within being with me within a certain distance. I think it's a good experience. Back at home, probably it's almost impossible. So, and I was also opportuned to take a picture, standing beside her. So yeah, overall, it's a good experience. I think I really cherish that moment.
And if we speak about your experience in the Estonian university and Nigerian university, what's the biggest difference you noticed?
Here, the system is a little bit well matured compared to back at home, where, for instance, my first programming course was in my second year in school. I think, yes, my second year in school with Fortran. Fortran was my first programming course. But then I don't have a computer when I was in my second year in bachelor's, and I need to share computer with over maybe 20 students. One computer with 20 students back then. So compared to Estonia, where I have access to computers any time of the day, even 2 a.m., I can wake up and I feel like studying. I can just walk down because I was living next to the school. I can just walk down from my dormitory and go into the school library and study. It's totally different. So this gives me the opportunity to learn as much as I want to learn. And also it offers me the benefits to explore different, if you go into the library, you have access to different books. You can read as much as you want. So the system here is much stable and matured compared to, and they have facilities and all that compared to the system at home. Although back at home, there's also something that happens because you are competing with a lot of other students. It kind of does something in you that you are I don't know, this competitive spirit, this ability to endure, because I told you, few people needs to use like few resources are managed by a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Few computers are used by most students. So you can see you need to endure, you need to tolerate, there are a lot of, should I say, behavior that you just pick up just being in this kind of system.
On that one hand, probably this challenge actually pushes to think harder how to get the access to those computers and probably also develop some sort of communication soft skills.
Yeah.
Speaking about programming, how do you see the emergence of low code, no code?
It depends where this is being used. I really don't think low code, no code can be applied to, for instance, IoT devices, because the intricacies involved, the details involved, or the kind of picking up data from these kinds of machines is not something you want to leave to no code, low code. Picking data from sensors, picking data from the machine. I think it's really difficult to have this in low code, low code. Really. Yeah, but in some other sectors like maybe banking, maybe this is a very good solution.
But if we also add to this the emergence of the generative AI, like this ChatGPT, and looks like it's able to generate some code and or edit or correct. Taking into account all these developments, how do you see the future with the software engineering. Is it going to change a lot now?
Yes, it's going to be great. Yeah, it means you can develop something really quickly within a short time. It means you don't need to you can learn a lot of things within also a short time, because if you're a C-sharp developer, for instance, you want to learn the syntax, you want to learn how you can maybe create a class, create a method, how you can use loop, all those kind of stuff to solve a problem. But with OpenAI, ChatGPT, for instance, I mean, just write, how do I do this? How can I create a simple method in C#? And you have it with examples on how to do that. And if you want to go into details, like I really want this specific thing, I don't know, how do I get data from sensor A, for instance? And you provide enough details, ChatGPT can give you at least a code to start with. So I think this is really great. It means engineers can be more productive. Engineers can produce solutions within a short time. I think this is gonna be great. It's not a threat to software engineers, just to be frank.
And not to junior also? Or
I mean, juniors can quickly rise to senior in that sense if they can leverage on ChatGPT. Because the thing with junior developers, for instance, is, okay, I don't know how to do some certain things. I need a mentor. I need someone to guide me. ChatGPT is your guide. ChatGPT is your mentor. Just ask the question, and you can learn one or two things on how to do what you want to do, and quickly you are up to speed and can get something done.
if we take into account our example with the product that we're producing, this hybrid of the scooter and bicycle, you have this product, and how will you make it smart? So let's say it's the scooter and bicycle. Mechanical wise, they're integrated, but no sensors, nothing. So how do you think? What's your like free thinking vision? How would you make it smart actually?
Smart in the sense of incorporating maybe some sort of motor on the bicycle, or some sort of sensors on the bicycle to know how many speedometers you were able to cover in distance A to B, or what is the question?
Well, probably to elaborate here is by smart I would mean it's getting some transducers, and there is some kind of interpretation. So overall, it's enhancing the experience, but thanks to leveraging this electromechanics technology plus this with software and potentially maybe cloud and AI. Yeah, this kind of.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, based on these products you're talking about, you can measure how many calories you burnt within time X, and on day Y or day X, and how many calories you burnt during your vacation, for instance, as compared to when you're working. All of this is possible if you put in some sort of sensors on the machine and wire these sensors to some sort of applications. Yeah.
But if we let's say you take this into development, and you want to probably it will be easy for your development if you have this virtualized the whole kind of system. How far do you think we are with this digital twin thing? Can we model everything that is existing in the physical world?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure.
All right. But I also noticed, by the way, your LinkedIn is very well composed, and you also mentioned those skills there. It's, I think, one of the best examples that I saw. So easy to read. And there I saw that you have excelled in the C# in your stack technologies, and then also in the Java. And this kind of competing probably on a same level. How would you compare which one you would prefer actually, and what was the biggest difference between those two?
C# and Java kind of, I would say they are similar technology. I use Java. My wife is into Java actually, and some of my relatives are into Java and friends. So sometimes I help them out. But I use C# at work. If I compare both, they are more or less the same thing. Sometimes it's hard for me to differentiate a method written in Java and a method written in C# because it's more or less the same thing.
So it's more like which company is building ecosystem around behind this. So C# it's Microsoft, and Java probably pushed by Oracle.
Yeah.
All right. And how do you feel? Do you want to take a break or?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. And I want to share with you one use case. I borrowed this use case from the Ted Rogers Leadership Center, but I found this use case quite realistic and quite maybe not so very common, but I personally have seen this kind of experience. So imagine the case: you are the manager in the restaurant, in the hotel restaurant, and under you there are waiters, there are chefs, there are cooks, whole kitchen is dealing with the service, and you've been assigned, you become the new, and but what you notice that for several months, team just doesn't really let you in to handle many of the things. They just say, the only thing we need from you is that you handle vacations and some administrative work, and that's it. For all the rest, back off. But then you see, you observe one day that there is one girl, Lucy, who was long on the vacation, and then she on the sick leave, and then she came back, and she is the single mother of several kids, and she comes back from the sick leave, and you notice her abusive behavior towards the others, and it's for you it's really shocking. Then you go to the people to talk to them about that, and they say, no, it's fine, this is Lucy, that's how she is, so just get away and don't deal with that. But then you go to HR and explain them the situation that you have witnessed, and then HR tells you that this is not according to our values, this is not acceptable in our company. So make in written kind of disciplinary, to trigger this disciplinary action, write her in email, in writing about that is not acceptable. So you make this kind of comment. But then you think that she is like single mother, and putting this into writing, this kind of formal, and it's like very short way to be fired. And instead you decide to tell her verbally, and you fail. She rejects, and she keeps behaving same way. And now you don't know what to do because you, on one hand, you ignored HR's instruction. On the other hand, you basically even instigated more of that kind of. How would you have handled this kind of situation?
I mean, Lucy is abusive after her vacation, right? And
After her sick leave?
after sick leave. Yeah, leave it up to HR to handle that, and maybe the first thing is to also to really understand Lucy, what happened during the sick leave. Is it that she's still sick? It's possible. Probably she took sick leave only to realize she has a terminal cancer, for instance. It's enough to make someone crazy. And you don't have all this background information about Lucy's health. So sometimes you might want to, draw a bit closer on a personal level to really understand why Lucy is behaving the way she's behaving. And of course, you also need to compare Lucy's sudden behavior with her behavior prior to the sick leave. Is she the kind of colleague you would want to relate with before the sick leave? So if something has changed, something must have caused the change. And sometimes the human side of us should want to get to know why. Maybe give us some time to reflect on, to understand her. And if that is not working, then you can report to HR and allow them to handle it.
But so from beginning, you would actually. But let's say HR told you put this into writing, but instead you didn't follow and you made this verbally. But now if you go to HR and they ask you why didn't you follow these instructions?
My kind of nature, I'm also not very. I'm not the kind of person that. If what I would do, you're asking what I would do. I'm not the kind of person that would want to, on a good day, report anybody to anyone for punishments. I won't on a good day I won't do that because I don't know what the next action would look like. Could be, the contract could be terminated, his employment could be terminated, and I don't want to bear such responsibility. That is the kind of my nature. So if situation gets to that to that extent where I need to fill in some form to report somebody, then I really need to be careful. I haven't found myself in such a situation before, so I really can't tell.
But yeah, as I told you, this is quite probable. This kind of cases, and but there is also a twist to that situation. It's while you're thinking what you will do and you have already taken an attempt, she actually gets more abusive and injures one of the workers, and now workers go and complain about you that they didn't take action.
Then it is interesting.
The same workers who told you in the beginning, just this is normal.
Yeah. I don't know, Kristen.
But this is I picked the one of the most challenging ones, but it's actually great that someone is sharing this kind of cases and they are there, so you are prepared when something like similar happens. Then it's kind of goes like an exercise. But we're coming to the last question of our job interview. What is your salary expectation?
Good question. The most important question. Well, based on my current salary, I would assume that you find me interesting to work in your company, and if you really want me to take the move, like leave my current company to yours, then it means I would accept a salary maybe 30% above what I'm currently getting.
Thank you. And that concludes our job interview.
Thank you.
So how do you feel? How did it go?
It went well. I think it's kind of conversational, and I'm not in the mood of job interview, to be honest. It more like I'm speaking to a friend, kind of.
From your previous job interviews, was there some kind of similarity?
Yeah, I've had a couple of interviews. For some, it's more of very strictly technical. Probably on the technology that I'm applying for. So questions are just strictly based on that, and comparing this to that, I would say this is more relaxing. That is more like, of course, I also have like an expectation that at the end of the interview, I want to be recruited. So there's this level of anxiety, or you're a bit anxious. Okay, what next? And so I'm not having that kind of feeling here.
So could it be as a kind of tip that if you go for actual interview, you will say, I'm going for podcast?
Then people might not take interviews seriously, I would imagine. Generally, I think interviews should not just be based on what you have on paper, because there is a lot that is not written on paper. There is a lot that is not on the CV. For instance, on my CV, you can find that I was a math teacher at some point in my life. You won't find it there. You won't find that I could be patient to see a process through. You won't find it on my interview. You can only kind of extract that from the conversation that we are having, based on the questions that you are asking me. So I think interview should be a bit conversational, and in some sense it should be strictly on the job, on the role that you are applying for, in some sense.
Did you like this kind of scenarios, imaginary scenarios, where you had to like put yourself into that shoes and find the answers?
Yeah, well, kinda.
And many different people watching, but let's say the person who is watching us is in the beginning of the career, and the person is the engineer or scientist, and what advice would you give to that person in terms of the career and how to become the leader?
I would say whatever you are doing today, don't do it because of the job that you are having. Do it for yourself. Do it with as though no one is watching you, no one is observing, and at the end of the day, you hire yourself to it. You thank yourself for doing that, and that has always been my attitude towards work. That I do it without, minding who is looking or who is paying attention to what I'm doing. I just do it because I really want to do it, and because I feel it's a job, and in this job I want to give it my best. So yeah, for such a person who is just starting, maybe as a software engineer, and you are just giving as much, for instance, 8 hours of your time to that job at once, it is 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Yes, I'm done. And next day you show up. No, you. Some people don't like it, but I think it's a good attitude towards work. That you don't just live. You make your work part of your life, in the sense that even while outside work environment, you are making efforts to improve on or improve yourself so that you can contribute more to your job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was Stanley Ezeoke in the episode of Leaders and Engineers. Thank you for watching and listening us.
Thank you.